Can you build a deck with just structure deck, freezing chains? They couldn't have chosen a better release date for this thing, as the whole world is freezing into a big frozen tundra. Seriously though, I hope all you Texas bros and anyone else struggling with the weather is doing fine. Might even be cleared up by the time this video goes live, but hey, the sentiment is there. So, welcome back to the series where we try to build a somewhat playable deck using just a singular product, and in this case, we're going to be bashing together 3 freezing chain structure decks. Are ice barriers actually going to be playable after this? Probably not, but we'll see what we can do. I haven't really been keeping up with the new ice barrier cards, so I might be in for a little bit of a surprise. We'll see. I assume all the extra deck monsters and whatnot are going to be printed in here. I mean, that would only make sense. Ice Dragon's Prison, yo, let's go. If only Konami were that generous. But hey, look at this. Look at this playmat. We got Brio, and we got, yo, is that Trish? Is that the fusion Trish, or is that actual Trish? Not 100. Oh, it might be the new Trish, actually. And then that's what, Gungnir? Very nice, very pretty. I feel like we might have had a little step down since the Spirit Charmers structure deck, because there was so many little unique things in there that made opening the structure decks actually interesting, but this is just same cards every deck, no tokens, no spicy things like that. So let's see what we get in one of these, and then we'll do a little bit of reading off camera and put together what we believe to be the best version of 3 of these things. So in the structure deck, we start off with a Revealer of the Ice Barrier, level 4, 1700, ultra rare, Ginger Cinderella with a rod. Very nice. Speaker for the Ice Barrier. Oh, look at the puppy! Oh, I mean, it's like a fox or something, but hey. Zuijin of the Ice Barrier. They got their own Frosty Samurai. Wins over the ice. Oh my god, look at that art, dude. Wins over the ice barrier. It actually looks like an anime shot. That's so cool. Dude, look at the lighting. That's so nice. And Trishula Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier. So this is a new Trishula. Level 11. Very cool. Delorean Tiger King of the Ice Barrier. Then we, of course, have Brio, Gungnir, and the original Trish as a super rare as well. So you actually got a whole bunch of holos. That's pretty cool. Then moving on, we have General Wayne of the Ice Barrier. We also have Blazing Vortex and structure deck freezing chains. Very nice. I assume we have dual links, Legacy of the Duelist, dual links, and that's it. Okay, cool. So General Wayne of the Ice Barrier. Look at the size of his sword, dude. That's so small. In comparison to the size of the arms, it's like, there's no point using that thing. Just use your fists, my guy. But yeah, General Wayne, level 5, 2100. Hexa, Spirit of the Ice Barrier. Look at the little cutie. We got Blizzed, Defender of the Ice Barrier. Cryomancer. We got Prior of the Ice Barrier, Defender. Warlock, Spellbreaker, Strategist, Dance Princess, Daisoja. They have so many cards, man. General Raiho, Medium. We have General Gantala. Bald. General Grunard. Yo, is this the leader of the Wei Army? Damn, dude. Gen X Controller, here we go. We get all of the generic water support, which is really nice. So Gen X Undyne, Aqua Spirit, Dupe Frog. We got some Frog reprints. Ronin Toden, Fishborg Launcher, and Mullen Glacia. Yo, rip 2 out the hand. Very cool. Silent Angler. It's just a nice little extender. Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier. Magic Triangle. We have Medallion of the Ice Barrier. Just a big old gold coin. Mirror of the Ice Barrier. Salvage. Okay, we got Surface as well. Where art thou? So I assume there's some kind of level 1 plays in the deck, otherwise that would just make no sense, would it? A Pointer of the Red Lotus. I mean, that's a staple. Fiendish Chain, also a staple. Ice Dragon's Prison would have been much nicer, but you know, we'll take what we can get. Iceban, dude is rocking the dressing gown. Mind Drain, Heavy Storm Duster is quite nice. Crackdown is also very nice. And finally, we have Terror of Trishula to round out the 40 card deck. So we have a nice mix of cards here. Traditionally, the Ice Barriers really weren't able to summon their extra deck monsters, but now with the new support, maybe that's a possibility. I don't know. I'll go figure it out and see what we can come up with. Is this going to be better or worse than Spirit Charmers? Man, that is a question yet to be answered. All right, let's get into it. Fresh out of the freezer, we have our 40 card list, complete with side deck and extra deck. This is what I believe to be, at least after messing around with them for a hot minute, the best way to build the deck using just the 3 structures. I think people really exaggerate how bad the deck still is. Obviously it's not near competitive, but on a casual level there's some cool plays to be made and potential for better cards to be splashed in. So hopping into the list, we start off with 3 Ginger Cinderella, Revealer of the Ice Barrier. This is one of your most important cards. She summons your tuner from the deck and locks you into waters. Usually if this gets stopped, then you might be in trouble, although there are ways to play through it if you have certain cards in your hand. Next up, another one of the best cards in the deck, we have 3 General Wayne of the Ice Barrier. If your opponent controls a monster and you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can special him from your hand, and then on summon, you can search for an Ice Barrier spell or trap. And literally like all of the search options are really good. You might be thinking, going first, this card is awful because your opponent's not going to control a monster. The truth is the entire deck sucks when it comes to going first because there's really no game plan. Your best play is to flip Fiendish Chain. All of the extra deck monsters benefit more when summoned while your opponent has a board, so we've built the deck to go second. Even then, you're not going to be able to OTK, so the game plan is to have an explosive going second turn, wiping out your opponent's resources and hoping they can't come back from it. Moving on from there, we have 3 little reptile dudes, Hexa Spirit of the Ice Barrier. This is your main tuner that has an effect where it can dump a level 3 or lower Ice Barrier from the deck and copy its level, so it can be level 1, 2, or 3. You want to play 3 because Revealer can only special summon it from the deck, meaning if you play 1 and you open it, then your plays are dead. Playing 3 also just maximizes your grind game by keeping your Revealer alive. Next up, we have 3 Speaker. This is just a free special summon from hand if you control an Ice Barrier monster, and also if she's in the graveyard and you control an Ice Barrier, you can banish her to special summon a level 1 token. A couple of other extenders here. We have 3 Silent Angler and 3 Aqua Spirit. Silent Angler does lock you out of special summoning from the hand, so if you do have multiple extenders, you want Silent Angler to be the last one you use. That's it for the 3 ofs. The rest of the monsters here are just tech cards and other essential bits that allow us to make our plays. 1 Dance Princess is a searchable out to some of your opponent's back row. 2 Warlock, because it has 2 uses here. You can use it as a level 3 to send for Hexa Spirit, and you can also use its Floodgate effect. It's like an anti-spell fragrance. Sometimes you don't need to go all out on the synchros, and you can special summon a variety of Ice Barriers from your deck instead, thanks to Winds. That's just one of your better Floodgate kind of effects. We also have 1 Defender here as a level 3 to dump off of Hexa Spirit, but this one's also a tuner. It's really nice for additional synchro plays if you open up the Reborn, for example. 1 Zuijin as a level 2 to send off Hexa Spirit. It can revive itself from the graveyard except on the turn that it's sent, so that's just one of your best level 2s to send that also gives you a follow-up. It really didn't deserve an ultra rare. My boy Wayne should have got that ultra spot. But yeah, the final monster we have here, similar to Defender, is a level 2 tuner, Cryomancer of the Ice Barrier, and this one also has a pretty nice Floodgate effect where level 4 or higher monsters cannot attack. It can come up sometimes against decks like Heroes, for example, but otherwise it's just a level 2 to send for Hexa Spirit. Moving on to our spells and traps, aka our search options for Wayne. All of them are really good here. So starting off, we have 3 Wins over the Ice Barriers. You can tribute any number of Ice Barriers you control and then special summon that same amount from your deck with different names as long as they're level 4 or lower. This turns any of your normal summon Ice Barriers into a Revealer to get your plays going, or if you already have access to Revealer, you can special summon a variety of different things to extend your plays or end on some floodgates. It also has Recursion, where you can banish it from the graveyard to add any of your Ice Barriers that are in your grave or banished back to your hand. You can't use it on the turn that it's sent to the grave, unfortunately, but it gives you some nice follow-ups. Next up, we have triple Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier, a reborn continuous spell. On activation, you can special back a level 4 or lower Ice Barrier, and the continuous effect is some protection. So while you control 3 or more Ice Barrier monsters, they are all unaffected by your opponent's extra deck monsters. 3 Medallion. This card is nuts, dude. Not once per turn, search any Ice Barrier monster. This essentially means Wayne can search anything in the archetype because you can just search Medallion to search a monster if you need to. Really good card. And then our final spell is a Magic Triangle of the Ice Barrier. Reveal 3 Ice Barrier monsters with different names in your hand, then target 1 card your opponent controls to destroy it, then you can special summon an Ice Barrier from your hand. Kinda situational, but with 6 cards in your hand going second, it is possible, so you can search this with Wayne to pop one of your opponent's cards. Finally, moving on to the traps, we need some kind of generic interruption, so we have triple Fiendish Chain and triple Crackdown. When you break your opponent's board, but most of the time aren't able to OTK, it's nice to have that extra interruption to stop your opponent from coming back. And that is the 40 card going second list. We will play through some combos any moment here, but first we'll go through the extra deck. I would say just play 3 of everything, however that's not the case thanks to the ban list, which I think is really dumb. So 3 Gungnir and 3 Brionac, however 1 Delorean and 1 Trishula because they're both limited. We'll talk about that in a second, but Delorean's pretty cool because it can bounce back your Reborn spell to give you additional resources, and obviously we're playing triple Trishula 0. This is the new level 11 synchro that on synchro summon can banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls, non-targeting. That isn't once per turn, and you can make 2 with a good hand to clear your opponent's entire field. It also has a second effect where if it's destroyed by an opponent's card, it can special summon the original Trish from graveyard or extra deck, half all your opponent's monsters and negate their effects, and make Trish's attack 3300. Very easy to play around, and the summon of Trishula doesn't count as a synchro summon, so you would be missing out on the Trishula effect, unfortunately. Moving on to the side deck, however, it's just a bunch of different options that help us. Going first, we have triple Ice Ban. Any monster that's summoned and isn't water is changed to defense position, so it's kind of like Baguska. 3 Mind Drain, kind of sucks honestly because quite a lot of your effects do activate in the hand. Triple Heavy Storm Duster to deal with some back row, and for a little bit of going first spice, we have triple Appointer and triple Mullen Glacier to try and get those hand rips. Gives you a bit more of a game plan going first, and if you can combine that with Trish as well, that's a total of 4 cards out your opponent's hand. And that is the entire deck. Now before we jump into some gameplay, we're going to go through some combos and give you an idea of how it plays. Alright, we're going to showcase the best case scenario here going second, so 6 cards. We're going to normal summon Revealer of the Ice Barrier, allowing us to then special summon Wayne from our hand because our opponent likely has a monster, and Wayne is going to search us for wins over the Ice Barrier. Next up, we can special summon Speaker from our hand and then activate the effect of Revealer, discarding, it really doesn't matter what this card is, but discarding a card to special summon a Tuner or a Hexa Spirit from the deck. We want it to be level 2, so we're going to activate its effect, sending Zuijin to the graveyard, and then we can synchro a 4, a 5, and a 2, which makes 11, for Trishula 0. This will of course banish up to 3 cards that our opponent controls, non-targeting. Pretty nice, but we're not done yet. Because we control an Ice Barrier monster, we can banish Speaker from our graveyard to summon a level 1 Ice Barrier token. They really should have included an Ice Barrier token in the structure deck, don't know why they didn't, but from here we're going to activate Freezing Chains, our reborn spell, to reborn any Ice Barrier. It really doesn't matter here because we're just going to fire off Wins over the Ice Barrier, which is going to tribute all 3 of our Ice Barrier monsters, including the token, which is a pretty nice interaction, and we have a bunch of options to go for from here. If our opponent's board is already clear, we can set up some floodgates here by summoning Warlock, Cryomancer, and a second Revealer as a follow-up. This locks our opponent out of spell cards, tribute summons, and essentially attacks as well, while all of our monsters are protected from their extra deck monsters. But what if our opponent still has a bunch of cards on the field? Setting up floodgates is no use here, so instead we can summon Defender, a level 3 tuner, along with another Revealer and another Speaker. Not only will this give us a pretty nice follow-up for the next turn, but it also gives us some nice synchro materials on the board. A 4 plus a 4 plus a 3 is 11, giving us Trishula 0, number 2. The synchro summon effect, of course, not being once per turn, we can banish up to another 3 cards from our opponent's board, essentially clearing everything. Alternatively, maybe they only have like 1 card left on the field that you want to get rid of, so instead of Defender, we can summon Hexa Spirit and summon Trish instead to also get that hand rip. We also, of course, still have that final card in hand, obviously best case scenario, probably like Crackdown or Fiendish Chain here, to hopefully stop our opponent from coming back. Going first, on the other hand, best case scenario is a lot simpler, however we use all of our hand here, so a pointer's not going to do anything. Normal summoning our Revealer here, we can discard Speaker to special summon a Hexa Spirit from the deck. Then because we control an Ice Barrier monster, we can banish Speaker from the graveyard to special summon an Ice Barrier token, and then we can activate Winds Over and tribute all 3 of these monsters to special summon 3 more Ice Barriers from the deck. We just want our 3 summons to add up to level 9, however for the best follow-up we would summon a second Speaker, a second Revealer, and a second Hexa Spirit as well. Synchroing all 3 of these, we can get a Trishula onto the board, ripping 1 card from our opponent's hand, and getting 5 water monsters in the graveyard, meaning we can special summon Mullen Glacier. Mullen Glacier's mandatory effect on summon is going to snipe 2 random cards from our opponent's hand. If that wasn't once per turn, we can summon a second to wipe out our opponent's full hand, but of course it is once per turn, so we're going to settle for a Crackdown here. Then we have a bunch of follow-ups in the graveyard here. On the next turn, we can banish Winds Over to add back a Revealer, and that Revealer is actually live for free because our second Legend Revealer in graveyard has the effect where if we need to discard for the effect of an Ice Barrier, we can banish it from grave instead. So you see what I mean? The structure decks actually have some nice plays going for them. They don't deserve to be pooped on as much as they are. Just a couple of things before we get into the gameplay. First, I think Delorean obviously comes back to 3 on the next ban list because it has now got its hard once per turn errata. But why wasn't the same done for Trishula? It just seems so strange releasing a structure deck with its main boss monster at 1, especially when the even bigger boss monster stops you from actually being able to use Trishula's effect by taking your only copy out of the extra deck. Also, why is this not an Ice Barrier card? It's way too situational to run as an unsearchable 3 of. It's not exactly going to break the deck by putting Ice Barrier in the name, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's play some games.
to slow down. Fireplace to